Listen carefully, because this is not just another message passing through your screen. This is not random. This is not coincidence. This is not something you just happened to click on. No, this is a divine interruption. And the fact that you are still here, reading these words right now, means something in your spirit has already recognized the urgency before your mind could even catch up. There was something you were about to do, wasn't there? Something that always pulled your attention away. Maybe you were about to scroll. Maybe you were about to skip. Maybe you even hesitated for a second, thinking, I'll watch this later. But something stopped you. Something pulled you back. Something whispered, stay. That was not your imagination. That was not curiosity. That was heaven reaching through the noise to get your attention. Because what is about to happen in your house has already been seen in the spirit. And Archangel Michael does not interrupt without reason. You need to understand something very clearly. Heaven does not operate in panic, but it does operate in precision. And when a message like this finds you, it means timing has aligned. It means something has reached a point where silence is no longer an option. It means that what is approaching your household cannot go unnoticed anymore. Have you felt it lately? That subtle shift in your environment, the tension you couldn't explain, that strange feeling when you walk into certain rooms in your own house. It's almost like something is off, but you can't fully put it into words. Conversations feel different. Energy feels heavier. Even silence feels louder than it used to. You've tried to ignore it. You've tried to rationalize it. You've told yourself, it's nothing. But deep down you know something is changing. And here's the truth that may shake you. That feeling is not random. That feeling is not stress. That feeling is not in your head. That feeling is awareness. Because something is already unfolding behind the scenes. Archangel Michael speaks now, not softly, not vaguely, but with authority that cuts through confusion. You were brought here because you are meant to see before others see. You are meant to feel before others understand. You are meant to respond before it is too late. Do you realize what that means? It means you are not just a bystander in what's about to happen in your house. You are not just someone watching events unfold. You are positioned, chosen, placed exactly where you are for a reason that is only now beginning to reveal itself. But here is where it becomes serious, because many people receive warnings and still ignore them. Many people feel the shift and still choose comfort over clarity. Many people hear the call and still walk away. And that is where pride begins to quietly take control. Pride says it's not that serious. Pride says, I'll deal with it later. Pride says, nothing is going to happen. But Archangel Michael is making something clear right now. This is not a moment you can afford to dismiss. Because what is coming is not asking for your permission. What is approaching is not waiting for your readiness. What is about to happen in your house will reveal what has been hidden all along. And the reason this message feels intense, the reason your heart is beating a little differently right now, the reason you can't fully look away is because your spirit recognizes truth when it hears it. Even when your mind wants to question it. Even when your emotions want to avoid it. Your spirit knows. And right now, your spirit is being awakened. This is the moment where everything begins, not outside, but inside you. Because before anything shifts in your house, something must shift within your awareness. You must see differently. You must feel differently. You must respond differently. This is your notice. This is your warning. This is your invitation to step out of distraction and into discernment. Because the next moments, the next hours, the next unfolding events will test whether you were paying attention right now. So stay alert. Stay present. Stay spiritually awake. Because this message did not find you by accident. It found you because you were meant to be ready. Type I am alert in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1717 is now activated around your house. You need to feel this part, not just hear it. Because something has already begun and it is not waiting for you to figure things out at your own pace. It is not slowing down so you can get comfortable. It is not pausing so you can decide later. No, something has been set into motion, and heaven is making it clear that time, in this moment, is no longer as flexible as you think. Have you noticed how quickly things have been shifting lately? One moment everything feels normal and then suddenly something changes. A conversation turns strange. A mood shifts without warning. A situation escalates faster than expected. It feels like things are speeding up, like events are stacking on top of each other, leaving you barely enough time to process before the next thing happens. That is not random. That is not coincidence. That is acceleration. Because when heaven begins to move, it moves with precision and timing that does not delay. And right now, there is a spiritual clock that has already started ticking over your house. Archangel Michael speaks with unmistakable authority in this moment. What is coming has already been scheduled in the unseen. The delay you think you have is an illusion. The time you think remains is shorter than you believe. Let that settle inside you. Because most people live as if they have endless time to respond, endless time to change, endless time to prepare. But the truth is there are moments in life that carry weight, moments that carry consequence, moments that demand immediate awareness. And this is one of those moments. You have already been given signs. Small ones at first. Easy to dismiss. Easy to overlook. A sudden feeling that something isn't right. A moment where your intuition spoke louder than logic. A hesitation you couldn't explain. A quiet inner voice telling you to pay attention, but instead of stopping, instead of leaning into that awareness, it was easier to move on. Easier to say it's nothing. Easier to continue as if everything is fine. But now the signs are becoming stronger. And the reason they are becoming stronger is because time is narrowing. There is a window open right now. A very specific window. A moment where awareness can still change what is about to unfold. A moment where alignment can still shift the outcome. A moment where your response can still determine what happens next inside your house. But that window is not permanent. And this is where most people make the mistake that costs them everything. They assume they have more time. They assume the warning will come again later. They assume they can ignore the feeling now and deal with it when it becomes obvious. But by the time it becomes obvious, it is often already too late to respond correctly. That is why Archangel Michael is not speaking gently in this moment. That is why there is intensity in this message. Because this is not about comfort. This is about clarity. You are being warned before the event, not after. You are being shown before the exposure, not during. You are being awakened before the shift, not once it has already happened. And that changes everything if you allow it to. Because urgency is not meant to scare you. Urgency is meant to position you. It is meant to move you from passive to aware, from distracted to focus, from reactive to prepared. But pride resists urgency. Pride says, I'm fine. Pride says, nothing is wrong. Pride says, I don't need to pay attention to this right now. And that is exactly how people miss their moment. Not because they weren't warned, but because they didn't take the warning seriously. Right now, you are standing in a moment where your awareness matters more than your comfort. Where your attention matters more than your routine. Where your willingness to listen matters more than your desire to ignore. Because something is approaching your house and it is already closer than you think. The spiritual realm has already recorded it. A shift has already begun forming. The energy has already started aligning towards something that will not remain hidden much longer. And here is the truth you must hold on to. You are not being left in the dark. You are not being caught off guard. You are not being abandoned to figure this out alone. You are being given time, but not unlimited time. You are being given awareness, but not repeated warnings. You are being given clarity, but only if you choose to stay present in this moment. So do not rush past this. Do not treat this like something you can revisit later. Do not silence what your spirit is trying to show you right now. Because this is the moment where everything begins to shift, not because something is happening outside, but because something is awakening inside you. And what you do with this awareness will determine what happens next. Type "I am ready" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 2626 is now activated over your house. There is something happening inside your house right now, and you may not have words for it yet, but you have felt it. You have sensed it in small, always unnoticeable moments. It wasn't loud. It wasn't obvious. It didn't come with a clear explanation. But it was there, and it has been growing. Because the atmosphere in your home is no longer the same. You walk into a room, and something feels different. Not drastically, not in a way you can immediately explain to someone else, but enough for you to pause, even if just for a second. Enough for your spirit to whisper, something has changed. And then you shake it off. You move on. You tell yourself it's just your mood, just your imagination, just a passing thought. But it wasn't. Because atmospheres shift before events unfold. Energy changes before situations reveal themselves. And what you are feeling right now is not random tension, it is spiritual movement. It is the early stage of something that is preparing to surface in your house, something that has already been building quietly, patiently, behind the scenes. Have you noticed how conversations have started to feel slightly off? Not completely wrong, just different. Words that once felt normal now carry a strange weight. Silences that used to feel peaceful now feel heavy. Even the way people respond, the tone, the timing, something about it doesn't sit right the way it used to. And then there are moments when everything seems calm, always too calm. That kind of calm that doesn't feel like peace but feels like something waiting. That is not your imagination. Archangel Michael is revealing something critical in this moment. When the atmosphere shifts, it is because something unseen is moving into position. What you feel is not confusion. It is detection. You are detecting change before it becomes visible. You are sensing alignment before it becomes action. And that is why this moment matters so much. Because most people ignore atmospheric shifts. Most people wait until something happens before they take it seriously. But by then, the shift has already completed its work. By then, the situation has already formed. By then, reaction replaces preparation. But you are being shown early. And that means you are being given an advantage if you choose to use it. Think about the last few days. Think about the small things you brushed off. The moment where you felt watched, even if no one was looking. The moment where you felt uneasy for no clear reason. The moment where something in your house felt unfamiliar, even though nothing had physically changed. Those moments were not meaningless. They were signals that something is adjusting itself within your environment. And here is where it becomes even more serious, because when the atmosphere shifts, it does not affect everyone the same way. Some people will remain completely unaware. They will move through the same space, have the same conversations, follow the same routines, and feel nothing different. They will not sense the change. They will not recognize the tension. They will not understand what is unfolding. But you feel it. And that is not a coincidence. That is sensitivity. That is awareness. That is the reason this message reached you and not them. Because you are meant to notice before others notice. You are meant to feel before others react. You are meant to respond before others are forced to deal with the consequences. But here is the part you cannot ignore, because awareness without action leads to regret. If you feel the shift and still choose to dismiss it, you place yourself in the same position as those who never noticed it at all. And that is exactly where pride begins to quietly take over again. Pride says it's nothing serious. Pride says everything is fine. Pride says you're overthinking. But your spirit is saying something else. Your spirit is telling you to pay attention. Your spirit is telling you to observe more closely. Your spirit is telling you that something is aligning in a way that will soon become undeniable. And Archangel Michael is standing in this moment, not to confuse you, but to confirm what you already feel. What is forming in your house will soon reveal itself. But those who ignore this shift will be caught in the outcome. This is why you must not go back to sleep spiritually. This is why you must not return to distraction. This is why you must not silence your awareness just to feel comfortable again. Because comfort right now can cost you clarity later. You are standing in the middle of a transition. A transition that has not fully revealed itself yet, but is close enough for you to sense it. Close enough for you to feel its presence. Close enough for you to prepare if you choose to stay awake in this moment. And the question is not whether something is shifting. The question is, will you acknowledge it before it becomes undeniable? Because what you do now in this quiet, subtle, almost invisible stage will determine how you experience what comes next. So stay alert. Stay aware. Stay connected to what your spirit is trying to show you. Because your house is not the same anymore, and what is coming will make the truth impossible to ignore. Type "I discern the shift" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 3333 is now activated over your home. As the shift begins to unfold in your house, understand this: every message like this is not just reaching you. It is reaching countless souls who are still asleep, still searching, still waiting for clarity. And in this very moment, you are not just a listener, you are a vessel. Because every seed you release into this mission becomes light in someone else's darkness. The word says, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." And this is not just scripture. This is a living promise speaking directly into your life right now. I feel led to say this clearly. This is your moment to act. Not later, not someday, but now. When you support through Super Thanks with a PayPal link in the description, or even the QR code on your screen, you are not just giving, you are activating a flow of divine truth into lives that desperately need it. Heaven sees every act of obedience, every sacrifice, every seed. And I declare over you now, as you give, doors will open, clarity will increase, and protection will multiply around your house. Do not delay this moment. Step into it with faith. There is something you must come to terms with now, something that may feel uncomfortable at first. But deep down, your spirit has already sensed it long before this moment. What you have been feeling inside your house is not just a shift in atmosphere, it is the awareness of a presence. Not necessarily something you can see with your physical eyes, not something that walks openly in front of you, but something that has been observing, waiting, and positioning itself quietly within your environment. And the reason this feels unsettling is because it has not revealed itself fully yet. It has remained subtle. It has remained hidden. It has remained just out of reach of your direct understanding, but never out of reach of your spirit. Think back carefully. There have been moments where you felt like something was off, not in a dramatic way, but in a quiet, persistent way that stayed with you longer than it should have. Moments where you walked into a space and paused without knowing why. Moments where you felt watched, even when no one was physically paying attention. Moments where your thoughts suddenly shifted, your emotions suddenly changed, or your peace suddenly felt interrupted. You tried to dismiss those moments. You told yourself it was nothing. You convinced yourself it was stress, overthinking, or just your imagination. But what if it wasn't? What if those moments were not random at all but intentional signals trying to get your attention? Archangel Michael steps forward in this moment with clarity that cannot be softened. Not every presence reveals itself loudly. Some observe first. Some wait. Some study before they act. And that is exactly what makes this moment so important. Because what is watching does not always appear as something obvious or external. Sometimes it moves through people. Sometimes it influences conversations. Sometimes it operates through energy, through tension, through subtle shifts that seem too small to matter until they begin to connect into something larger. Have you noticed how certain reactions around you don't match the situation anymore? How someone's tone feels slightly different even when their words sound normal? How certain interactions leave you feeling drained without any clear reason? These are not coincidences. These are indicators. Indicators that something is influencing the environment in ways that are not immediately visible but are becoming increasingly noticeable to someone who is paying attention, and you are paying attention now. This is where many people make a critical mistake. They look for something obvious. They expect a clear sign, a clear event, a clear moment where everything becomes undeniable. But that is not how subtle presence operates. It does not announce itself. It does not reveal itself fully in the beginning. It observes. It learns. It waits for the right moment to act. And by the time most people recognize it, they are already reacting instead of preparing. But you are not in that position. Not anymore. Because you are being shown before the action takes place. You are being made aware before the situation unfolds. And that awareness changes everything if you choose to trust it. There is a reason your sensitivity has increased. There is a reason your awareness has sharpened. There is a reason you can no longer ignore the small shifts the way you used to. Because what is present has already begun interacting with your environment, even if it has not fully revealed its intention yet. And this is where your response becomes critical. Because you have two choices in this moment. You can dismiss what you feel and return to comfort, or you can acknowledge what you feel and step into awareness. But understand this clearly: ignoring it does not remove it. Dismissing it does not stop it. Pretending it is not there does not prevent what it is preparing to do. Archangel Michael speaks again, and his words carry weight you cannot overlook. What is hidden is not gone. What is unseen is not inactive. And what is ignored will not remain silent forever. This is not meant to create fear. This is meant to awaken focus. Because you are not being left vulnerable, you are being alerted. You are not being exposed, you are being prepared. You are not being targeted without protection, you are being surrounded with awareness before anything unfolds. But awareness requires something from you. It requires that you stay present. It requires that you observe more closely. It requires that you stop brushing off what your spirit is clearly trying to show you. Because what has been watching quietly will not remain hidden for long. And when it begins to reveal itself, it will do so in a way that connects everything you have been sensing until now. The tension, the silence, the uneasiness, the subtle changes, all of it will begin to make sense. But the difference between confusion and clarity in that moment will depend on whether you chose to listen now. So do not ignore what you feel. Do not silence what you sense. Do not push away the awareness that is rising inside you. Because this is not random. This is not imagination. This is preparation. and you are being prepared for something that is already closer than it appears. Type ISE clearly in the comments if you receive this message. Lesson code 4444 is now surrounding your house. Now listen closely, because this is where everything becomes personal. Up until this moment, you have been hearing about shifts, about presence, about something forming in your house. But now, Archangel Michael brings the focus directly to you. Not to what is happening around you, but to what is happening within you. Because there is one thing, one quiet force, one hidden barrier that can block everything you have just been warned about. And that thing is pride. Not the kind of pride that looks obvious. Not arrogance, not loud defiance, not something you would easily recognize and say, "Yes, that's me." Oh, this is the subtle kind. The quiet kind. The kind that hides behind normal thoughts, normal reactions, normal habits. The kind that says, "I already know." The kind that says, "I'll deal with it later." The kind that says, "This doesn't really apply to me." And that is exactly why it is dangerous. Because pride does not always feel like resistance. Sometimes it feels like comfort. Think about how many times you have felt something was off but chose not to act. Not because you didn't feel it, but because it was easier to ignore it. Easier to stay in routine. Easier to avoid confronting what your spirit was trying to show you. That is where pride begins. It doesn't shout. It whispers. It tells you to stay where you are instead of stepping into awareness. It convinces you that everything is fine even when something inside you knows it is not. It keeps you still when you should be alert. It keeps you silent when you should be paying attention. And the most dangerous part is it feels normal. Archangel Michael speaks now with authority that cuts through every layer of denial. Pride is not always loud. It is often quiet agreement with delay. It is the choice to ignore what has already been revealed. Let that settle inside you. Because this moment is not about whether you heard the message. It is about whether you will respond to it. You have already been given awareness. You have already felt the shift. You have already sensed that something is not right. But awareness alone does not protect you. Recognition alone does not position you. It is your response that determines everything. And pride interferes with that response. It slows you down. It makes you hesitate. It convinces you that urgency is unnecessary. But what you must understand is this: pride delays action, and delay creates vulnerability. When you delay what your spirit is telling you, you create space for what is approaching to unfold without preparation. You create a gap between awareness and action. And that gap is where confusion enters. That gap is where mistakes are made. The gap is where people say, "I felt something was wrong, but I didn't do anything about it." And that is exactly what this moment is trying to prevent. Because this is not just a warning about your house. This is a test of your alignment. A test of whether you will stay comfortable or become aware. A test of whether you will dismiss what you feel or trust it. A test of whether you will remain passive or become prepared. And pride will try to push you toward the easier choice every time. It will tell you to relax. It will tell you to ignore the intensity of this message. It will tell you that nothing serious is going to happen. But Archangel Michael makes something very clear in this moment. Those who ignore the warning do not escape the outcome. They walk into it unprepared. This is not about fear. This is about positioning. Because the moment you set aside pride, everything changes. The moment you choose awareness over comfort, everything sharpens. The moment you acknowledge that what you are feeling is real, everything becomes clearer. You begin to see what you couldn't see before. You begin to notice what you overlooked before. You begin to understand what did make sense before. And most importantly, you begin to prepare. but that can only happen if you are willing to let go of the one thing that is trying to keep you still. Prying. So ask yourself honestly, not from a place of judgment, but from a place of clarity. Have you been ignoring what you feel? Have you been brushing off the signs? Have you been choosing comfort over awareness? Because this moment is giving you the opportunity to shift that. Right now. Not later. Not when things become obvious. Now. Because once something reveals itself fully, your ability to prepare becomes your need to react. And reaction is always harder than preparation. You are not being asked to do something complicated. You are being asked to pay attention, to stay alert, to trust what your spirit is already showing you. Because the protection around you is not blocked by what is happening outside. It is blocked by what you choose to ignore inside. And the moment you remove that barrier, the moment you choose awareness over pride, you step into a position where nothing catches you off guard, where nothing takes you by surprise, where nothing unfolds without you being ready for it. This is your moment of decision. Not dramatic, not visible, but powerful. Because what you choose right now will determine how you face what is coming next. So let pride go. Let awareness rise. And step fully into the clarity that is being offered to you in this moment. Type "I release pride" in the comments if you receive this message. Lesson code 5555 is now activated over your house. Something is about to happen and you need to understand this clearly. It will not announce itself in advance the way you expect. It will not arrive with a clear warning in the natural. It will not give you time to sit, think, and slowly decide how to respond. No, what is approaching your household is sudden. It is precise. It is timed in a way that will catch many off guard, but it is not meant to catch you off guard, because you have already been warned. That is what makes this moment different for you. Most people experience events without preparation. They react emotionally. They try to make sense of things after they have already unfolded, and they find themselves overwhelmed, confused, and unsteady. But you are standing in a different position right now. You are being shown before it happens. You are being made aware before it unfolds. You are being prepared before the moment arrives. But preparation only works if you take it seriously. Because this event, whatever form it takes, will not feel small when it happens. It may begin with something that looks simple, a conversation, a situation, an unexpected reaction, a shift in behavior, but it will carry weight. It will reveal something. It will expose something. It will bring to the surface what has been building quietly behind everything you have already been sensing. Have you ever had a moment where something small suddenly turned into something much bigger than you expected? A simple discussion that escalated. A normal day that shifted in a single moment. A situation that revealed truth you weren't prepared to face. That is the kind of suddenness we are talking about here. Because what is coming is not random. It is the result of everything that has been forming beneath the surface. And when it reveals itself, it will connect all the feelings, all the signs, all the shifts you have been experiencing until now. You will look back and realize it was already there. Archangel Michael speaks with clarity that leaves no room for doubt. The moment will come quickly. It will not wait for readiness. It will reveal what has been hidden. And those who are unprepared will be overtaken by their own reaction. That is why your response matters more than the event itself. Because the event will happen, but how you meet it will determine everything. Will you react with confusion or respond with clarity? Will you be overwhelmed or remain steady? Will you be caught off guard or recognize it for what it is? That difference is being decided right now in this moment of awareness. Because preparation does not happen when the event arrives. Preparation happens before. And that is exactly where you are. Right now, you are being positioned to recognize what others will misunderstand. You are being given the ability to stay calm where others may panic. You are being equipped to see clearly where others may react emotionally. But again, pride will try to interfere. It will tell you that this is exaggerated. It will tell you that nothing significant is about to happen. It will try to pull you back into comfort, back into routine, back into the belief that everything will continue as it always has. But everything is not continuing as it always has. Something has already shifted. Something has already begun moving. And the event that is approaching is not the beginning, it is the result. The result of what has been building quietly. The result of what has been forming behind the scenes. The result of what your spirit has already been trying to show you. And when it happens, it will require you to stay grounded, not reactive, not emotional, not pulled into confusion. Because one of the biggest mistakes people make in sudden moments is reacting too quickly without understanding what they are facing. They speak too soon. They act too fast. They allow emotion to take control before clarity has a chance to settle in. And that is where situations become more complicated than they need to be. But you are not being placed in that position. You are being told in advance so you can choose differently. So you can pause instead of react. So you can observe instead of assume. So you can stay steady instead of being pulled into the intensity of the moment. Because what is about to happen is not just about the situation itself, it is about what it reveals. It will reveal truth. It will reveal intention. It will reveal what had been hidden beneath the surface. And that revelation will require you to see clearly. Not emotionally. Not defensively. But clearly. This is why you must stay alert now. This is why you must remain aware. This is why you must not return to distraction. Because the moment will come, and when it does, you will either recognize it immediately or you will be pulled into it without understanding. And you were not brought this far to be unprepared. You were not given this awareness to ignore it. You were not shown these signs to dismiss them. You are being positioned right now. So when that sudden moment arrives, you are not shaken. You are not confused. You are not caught off guard. You are ready. Because you saw it coming before it happened. Type "I am prepared" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 6666 is now activated over your house. Now this is the part where everything shifts from observation to responsibility. Because up until now, you have been hearing about what is happening, what is forming, what is approaching your house. But in this moment, Archangel Michael turns your attention inward again and makes something unmistakably clear. This is not just about what is coming. This is about why you are here to witness it before it happens. You were not shown this message by accident. You were not made aware of these shifts randomly. You were not given this level of sensitivity for no reason. You were chosen to see because you are meant to respond. And that changes everything. Because most people inside your house, inside your environment, inside your daily interactions, they are not aware the way you are aware. They are not sensing what you are sensing. They are not picking up on the subtle shifts, the quiet changes, the hidden tension. They are moving through the same space but without the same level of understanding. But you feel it. You notice it. You cannot ignore it anymore. And that is not a burden, that is a role. Archangel Michael speaks with clarity that places weight on your position. Awareness is not given for comfort. It is given for responsibility. You were shown because you are meant to stand differently. Let that sink in. Because being chosen in this moment does not mean being placed above others. It means being placed in position for something specific. It means you are the one who must remain steady when others are reactive. You are the one who must remain aware when others are unaware. You are the one who must respond with clarity while others may respond with confusion. And that is not always easy, because there will be moments where you may feel alone in what you are sensing. Moments where you may question whether you should say something, do something, or simply observe. Moments where you may feel the pressure of knowing something is not right while others continue as if everything is normal. But this is where your role becomes clear. You are not here to panic. You are not here to react emotionally. You are not here to force others to see what you see. You are here to stay grounded in awareness. Because your presence, your stability, your clarity will matter more than you realize when the moment arrives. Think about this carefully. Every situation has someone who becomes the anchor, the one who does not lose control, the one who sees clearly when others are overwhelmed, the one who does not get pulled into the chaos. And in this situation, that anchor is you. Not because you are stronger than everyone else, but because you were prepared ahead of time, because you were given awareness before the event, because you were shown what others were not shown. And preparation always creates positioning. But this is where another test begins, because knowing your role is one thing, stepping into it is another. There will be a temptation to fall back into normal reactions, to respond emotionally, to get pulled into the intensity of what is happening, to forget everything you sensed before the moment arrived. And that is exactly what you must not do, because your role is not to match the energy of the situation. Your role is to shift it. Your role is not to be consumed by what is happening. Your role is to remain steady within it. Your role is not to react the same way others react. Your role is to respond with awareness that changes the direction of what is unfolding. And that requires something from you. It requires control. It requires patience. It requires trust in what you have already been shown. Because when the moment comes, everything will try to pull you into reaction. Everything will try to make you forget what you sensed. Everything will try to make you respond quickly instead of wisely. But you must remember this moment. You must remember this awareness. You must remember that you were prepared for this before it happened. Because that is what will allow you to stand differently. Archangel Michael speaks again, reinforcing your position. You are not in this moment by chance. You are placed. You are positioned. And what you do will influence what happens next. That means your response carries weight. Not just for you, but for your environment. Because sometimes one person staying grounded can prevent a situation from escalating further. Sometimes one person seeing clearly can shift confusion into understanding. Sometimes one person choosing not to react can stop something from growing into something bigger. And that one person is you. So do not underestimate your role. Do not step back into passiveness. Do not pretend that your awareness does not matter. Because it does. And the reason you are here, the reason you are still listening, the reason you have not walked away from this message is because something inside you already knows this is true. You were meant to hear this. You were meant to be ready. You were meant to stand in a way that others cannot, at least not yet. So when the moment arrives, remember who you are in it. Not a bystander. Not someone caught off guard. But someone prepared, someone aware, someone positioned to respond in a way that changes everything. Type "I accept my role" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 7777 is now activated over your house. Now the moment you may have been avoiding, the moment your spirit felt coming before your mind was ready to accept it, is here. Because not everything that is in your house right now is meant to remain. Not every connection is aligned. Not every habit is harmless. Not every presence is meant to continue into what is coming next. And this is where separation begins. Not necessarily loud, not necessarily dramatic, but precise, intentional, unavoidable. Because when something is shifting at this level, there are always elements that cannot move forward with you. You may have already felt this. That quiet distance growing between you and certain people. That lack of peace in certain conversations. That subtle resistance when you try to hold on to something that once felt normal. It's not random. It's not emotional instability. It's not confusion. It is separation starting before it becomes visible. Archangel Michael speaks with clarity that cannot be softened. What cannot align cannot remain. What resists the shift must be removed. And what drains your awareness cannot walk with you into what is next. Let that settle deeply inside you. Because this is not just about external situations. This is also about internal patterns. The thoughts you keep repeating. The behaviors you keep tolerating. The attachments you keep justifying. All of it is being examined in this moment. Because you cannot move into clarity while holding on to what creates confusion. You cannot step into awareness while remaining connected to what keeps you distracted. And you cannot be prepared for what is coming if you are still surrounded by what weakens your position. But here is where it becomes difficult. Because separation is rarely comfortable and challenges familiarity. It disrupts routine. It forces you to look at things you may have preferred to ignore. And most importantly, it requires you to let go before you fully understand why. That is the part that creates hesitation. Because your mind wants explanation. Your emotions want reassurance. But separation, especially in moments like this, often happens before full understanding arrives. And that is where trust becomes necessary. Because what you are being guided to release is not random. It is precise. Think about what has been feeling heavy lately. Not obvious but persistent. Something you keep going back to even though it no longer feels right. Someone whose presence feels different even if nothing has been said directly. A pattern you continue even though you know it is not helping you stay clear. That is where separation is beginning. And if you ignore it, it does not stop. It only becomes stronger. Because what is not removed in the early stage becomes harder to release later. And by the time the event arrives, that attachment may already be affecting how you respond. This is why this moment matters so much. Because you are not being asked to remove everything. You are being asked to recognize what no longer belongs. To become honest about what is no longer aligned. To stop holding on to what your spirit has already identified as out of place. Archangel Michael reinforces this with authority. You are not losing what matters. You are releasing what interferes. And what leaves now creates space for what must remain. That means this is not loss. This is positioning. This is preparation. This is clearing space for clarity before confusion has a chance to grow. But again, pride may try to interfere here as well. It may tell you to hold on. It may tell you that you are overthinking. It may convince you that nothing needs to change. But you already know. Deep down, you already know what feels different. You already know what no longer brings peace. You already know what your spirit has been trying to distance you from. And this is the moment where you stop resisting that awareness. Because what you hold on to now will either strengthen your position or weaken it. And when the sudden event arrives, that difference will matter more than anything else. You are being given the chance to clear your environment before the moment comes. To remove what interferes before it becomes part of the situation. To step into clarity before you are required to act. So do not delay this. Do not push it aside. Do not convince yourself that it can wait. because separation delay becomes complication later. And you were not brought this far to be unprepared because of something you refused to release. So let it go. Quietly. Intentionally. Without needing to explain it to everyone. Because this is not about them. This is about your alignment. Your awareness. Your readiness. And what is coming next requires you to be clear. Not surrounded by confusion. Not tied to what no longer belongs. But fully positioned. Fully aware. Fully ready. Type "I release what no longer belongs" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 8888 is now activated over your house. As this separation begins in your life, understand this truth: every release you make creates room for God to move not just in you, but through you into others. Right now, there are souls waiting in darkness for the very light you are receiving. And when you sow into this mission, you are not giving to a message, you are igniting transformation in lives you may never see, but heaven records every impact. The word declares, "Cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days," and this is your moment to release what carries eternal weight. I feel led to say this clearly. This is not just support, this is a prophetic act of alignment. When you give through Super Thanks or the PayPal link in the description or the QR code on your screen, you are opening a flow that returns back into your life with multiplied clarity, protection, and favor. Heaven sees your obedience in this moment. Heaven honors your seed. Step into it now with faith, not hesitation. Now you must pay even closer attention, because what comes next will not arrive without signals. Nothing that carries this level of weight ever does. There are always signs. There are always indicators. There are always moments where something tries to make itself known before it fully reveals itself. But the difference between those who are prepared and those who are caught off guard is whether they recognize those signs when they appear. And you are about to see them. Not in some distant future. Not at some undefined time. But soon in ways that will feel familiar, yet impossible to ignore. Because the warning signs have already begun, but they are about to become clearer. You may notice a sudden shift in someone's behavior. Not gradual, not subtle like before, but noticeable. A change in tone. A change in attitude. Reaction that feels stronger than the situation requires. Something that makes you pause and think, that didn't feel right. That is not random. That is a signal. You may notice conversations becoming more tense even when the topic is small. Words being interpreted differently. Emotions rising faster than they should. Silence carrying more weight than usual. And you may find yourself questioning, why does this feel different now? That is not coincidence. That is a signal. You may notice your own intuition becoming stronger. That inner voice becoming louder. That feeling of hesitation becoming more persistent. Moments where something inside you says, pay attention, even when nothing obvious is happening on the surface. That is not imagination. That is a signal. Archangel Michael speaks with firm clarity in this moment. The signs will come before the event. But they will only guide those who are willing to see them. Those who ignore them walk into what follows unprepared. This is where your awareness becomes your greatest protection. Because the signs are not meant to confuse you. They are meant to guide you. They are meant to show you where to look before something reveals itself fully. But here is what you must understand: the signs will not always feel dramatic. They will not always come in a way that forces your attention. Sometimes they will feel small, almost insignificant, easy to dismiss, easy to explain away. And that is where most people fail. They wait for something obvious. They wait for something undeniable. They wait for something that cannot be ignored. But by the time it reaches that level, it is no longer a warning. It is already happening, and that is not where you are meant to be. You are meant to recognize the early stage, a subtle shift, a quiet indication that something is aligning in a way that will soon become visible. Think about the patterns you have already noticed, the moments that felt slightly off, the changes that didn't fully make sense, the feelings you couldn't explain. Those were not isolated experiences. They were the beginning. And now those beginnings are about to connect. You will start to see repetition, the same type of tension appearing more than once, the same kind of reaction showing up in different situations, the same feeling returning, stronger each time. That is when you know the signs are forming a pattern, and patterns always lead somewhere. This is why you must stay alert, because when patterns form, events follow, and the closer the event gets, the clearer the signs become. But clarity only helps if you are paying attention. If you are still dismissing what you feel, you will miss the connection. If you are still ignoring the signs, you will not recognize them when they repeat. If you are still choosing comfort over awareness, you will see the signs, but not understand them. And that is exactly what must not happen, because you are not being shown these things to question yourself. You are being shown these things to trust what you sense, to recognize what is unfolding before it becomes undeniable, to stay one step ahead, not one step behind. Archangel Michael reinforces this with authority. You will see what others overlook. You will feel what others dismiss. And what you recognize will prepare you for what comes next. That means the signs are not just information. They are preparation. They are positioning. They are giving you the ability to respond correctly when the moment arrives. Because when the event happens, it will connect back to these signs. You will remember them. You will recognize them. And you will understand that you were already being shown what was coming. That is the difference between confusion and clarity, between reaction and preparation, between being overwhelmed and being ready. So do not ignore what you see. Do not silence what you feel. Do not dismiss what keeps repeating, because the signs are not random. They are leading you to understanding, and that understanding will be exactly what you need when everything begins to unfold. Type I see the signs in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 9999 is now activated over your house. Now everything comes down to this moment, not what you heard, not what you felt, not even what you now understand, but what you choose to do with it. Because awareness without obedience changes nothing. You can recognize the signs. You can feel the shift. You can sense what is approaching. But if you do not respond, if you do not align your actions with what you have already been shown, then you remain in the same position as those who were never aware at all. And this is where many people fail. Not because they were not warned, not because they did not feel something, but because they chose not to act. They delayed. They hesitated. They waited for more confirmation. They convinced themselves that they needed more clarity before making a decision. But what they did not realize was that the clarity they were waiting for had already been given, and the only thing left was obedience. Archangel Michael speaks now with unmistakable authority. Obedience is not about understanding everything. It is about responding to what has already been revealed. Those who wait for certainty often miss their moment. Let that settle inside you. Because this moment is not asking you to figure everything out. It is asking you to move with what you already know, to trust what you have already felt, to respond to what your spirit has already confirmed. And that requires something many people struggle with: immediate action. Not delayed, not postponed, not something you say you will do later, but something you begin now. Because obedience loses power when it is delayed. Every moment you hesitate, the clarity begins to weaken. Every moment you wait, the urgency begins to fade. Every moment you return to comfort, the awareness begins to quiet. And before you realize it, you are back in the same place you were before this message found you. Aware but inactive. Knowing but not moving. And that is not where you are meant to remain. You have been brought to this point for a reason. Because something is about to unfold, and your obedience right now determines how you meet that moment. Think about this carefully. What has your spirit already told you to do? Not what you are thinking about now, but what you felt before you started questioning it. That initial nudge. That first instinct. That quiet inner voice that said, pay attention to this, or step away from that, or do not ignore this feeling. That is where obedience begins. Not in overthinking, not in analysis, but in response. Because your spirit recognized something before your mind tried to explain it away. And now you are being asked to trust that recognition, to act on it, to align with it. Because obedience is not always comfortable. It may require you to change something. It may require you to step back from something. It may require you to move differently than you have before. And that is where resistance appears. Because part of you will want to stay the same. Part of you will want to delay. Part of you will want to wait until everything makes perfect sense. But Archangel Michael makes something very clear in this moment. Obedience creates protection. Delay creates exposure. That is the difference. Because when you move in alignment with what you have been shown, you position yourself ahead of what is coming. You remove yourself from unnecessary confusion. You strengthen your clarity. You sharpen your awareness. And when the moment arrives, you are not reacting, you are responding. But when you delay, when you ignore, when you choose not to act, you remain in the path of what is forming. And when it reveals itself, you are forced to deal with it without preparation. That is why this moment is so important. Because it is not about what is happening outside. It is about what you are choosing inside. Right now. In this exact moment. You are being given the opportunity to align. To respond. To act in a way that changes what comes next. And the decision is not complicated. It is simple, but it requires willingness. Willingness to trust. Willingness to move. Willingness to act without needing every detail explained. Because obedience is not about having all the answers. It is about responding to the direction you have already been given. And that direction is already within you. You felt it before this message. You recognized it as you listened. And now you are being asked to act on it. So do not wait. Do not delay. Do not convince yourself that you have more time. Because this moment right now is where everything begins to shift. Not later. Not when it becomes obvious. Now. And what you choose to do with this moment will determine how you experience everything that follows. Type I choose obedience in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1010 is now activated over your house. Now as you stand in this moment aware, alert, and no longer ignoring what your spirit has been showing you, something else is happening at the same time, something just as powerful as the warning itself. Protection has already been released. Not later. Not after everything unfolds. Not once the situation becomes visible. But now in this very moment. And this is what you must understand clearly: you are not being warned without being covered. You are not being shown what is coming without being surrounded by what can withstand it. Heaven does not expose you to awareness and then leave you vulnerable. It prepares you and then it positions protection around you at the same time. Archangel Michael speaks with a presence that carries both authority and reassurance. Those who are awakened are not left unguarded. What is revealed to you is matched by what is assigned to protect you. Let that settle inside you. Because the moment you chose to stay, the moment you chose to listen, the moment you chose to receive this message instead of ignoring it, something shifted around you. A covering began to form. A protection that is not visible with your eyes but real in its effect. You may not see it directly, but you will begin to notice it through what does not reach you, through what does not affect you the same way, through what passes without impacting you the way it could have before. That is how protection often works. Not always by removing every situation, but by controlling how it touches you. Because what is coming may still unfold, but it will not have the same power over you if you remain aligned. That is the key. Protection is not automatic in its full strength. It responds to alignment. It responds to awareness. It responds to obedience. The more you remain in alignment with what you have been shown, the stronger that protection becomes around you. But the moment you return to distraction, the moment you ignore what you now know, the moment you step out of awareness, you weaken your own position within that covering. And that is why this moment is so critical. Because you are not just being warned about what is coming. You are being positioned inside protection that has already been released. Think about that. Before the event happens, protection is already active. Before the situation unfolds, coverage is already forming. Before anything reveals itself, you are already being surrounded. And that changes everything. Because now this is not about fear. This is about confidence. Not confidence that nothing will happen, but confidence that you are not facing it alone. Confidence that you are not unprepared. Confidence that you are not exposed. Archangel Michael reinforces this with clarity. Stand where you have been placed. Remain where you have been positioned. And what is meant to reach you will be limited by what surrounds you. That means your position matters. Where you stand mentally. Where you stand emotionally. Where you stand spiritually. All of it determines how strongly that protection operates around you. If you stay grounded, it strengthens. If you stay aware, it sharpens. If you stay aligned, it surrounds you completely. But if you allow yourself to fall back into confusion, into reaction, into distraction, you begin to step outside of the clarity that keeps you covered. And that is exactly what must not happen. Because what is being released right now is not temporary. It is not weak. It is not uncertain. It is precise. It is intentional. It is assigned. And it is responding directly to your awareness in this moment. That means you are not just hearing this message, you are standing inside a shift. A shift where protection is increasing. A shift where awareness is sharpening. A shift where what once could have affected you will now be limited by what surrounds you. But you must stay in position. You must remain in the awareness you have been given. You must not return to sleep after being awakened. Because protection works best when you remain conscious of it. Not afraid but aware. Not anxious but steady. Not reactive but grounded. And that is exactly where you are being placed right now. In a position where you can stand even when something unfolds. In a position where you can see clearly even when others cannot. In a position where you can remain steady even when the moment tries to pull you into reaction. This is not by chance. This is not coincidence. This is assignment. And you are standing in it right now. So do not doubt what is surrounding you. Do not question whether you are protected. Do not allow fear to replace the awareness you have been given. Because what is being released over you in this moment is stronger than what is approaching. And as long as you remain aligned, nothing will reach you in the same way it could have before. You are covered. You are positioned. You are protected. And now you are ready for what comes next. Type "I am protected" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1111 is now activated over your house. Now this is the final moment, the point where everything you have heard, everything you have felt, everything that has been revealed to you comes together into one clear truth. You cannot leave this unchanged, because ignoring this moment does not stop what is coming. It only changes how you face it. This is where many people misunderstand warnings like this. They think that if they do nothing, nothing will happen. They believe that if they ignore what they feel, it will simply pass. They convince themselves that staying in comfort will somehow protect them from what is forming. But that is not how this works. Because what is approaching your house is not dependent on whether you acknowledge it. It is already in motion. It is already aligning. It is already closer than it was when you first heard this message. And the only thing that is being decided right now is your position when it arrives. Archangel Michael speaks now with final authority, his voice carrying a weight that cannot be softened. The warning was given. The signs were shown. The awareness was awakened. What follows will reveal who listened and who turned away. Let that settle deeply inside you. Because this is not about punishment. This is about consequence. Not consequence as something forced upon you, but consequence as the natural result of your response. If you choose awareness, you step into clarity. If you choose obedience, you step into protection. If you choose alignment, you step into readiness. But if you choose to ignore this, if you return to distraction, if you silence what your spirit hath been trying to show you, then you do not stop what is coming. You simply remove your preparation for it. And when the moment arrives, it will not wait for you to catch up. It will not slow down so you can understand. It will not pause so you can adjust your position. It will unfold, and you will either meet it with clarity or be pulled into it with confusion. That is the difference this moment is creating. Right now. Because you have been given something many people do not receive: a chance to prepare before the event. A chance to see before it becomes obvious. A chance to align before it unfolds. And that chance is not something you can assume will come again in the same way. That is why the urgency was real. That is why the intensity was necessary. That is why you felt something inside you telling you to stay, to listen, to not skip. Because this was not just information. This was a moment. A defining moment. And now you are standing at the edge of it. The only question that remains is this: what will you do next? Will you walk away and return to what is comfortable? Will you silence what you have felt and pretend nothing has changed? Or will you hold on to this awareness and move differently from this moment forward? Because something has already shifted inside you. You are not the same as you were before you started listening. You see more clearly now. You feel more deeply now. You understand more than you did before. And that means you cannot go back to unawareness. You can only choose whether to act on what you now know. Archangel Michael speaks one final time, and his words seal this moment. You were not brought here to remain the same. You were brought here to be ready. What comes next will reveal the difference. So stand in that readiness. Stay in that awareness. Do not let this moment fade into distraction. Do not let this clarity be replaced by comfort. Because what you carry now is exactly what you will need when everything begins to unfold. And as long as you remain aligned, you will not be caught off guard. You will not be overwhelmed. You will not be unprepared. You will stand exactly where you were meant to be. Ready. Type "I am ready" and aligned in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1212 is now activated over your house. As you step into this final moment of alignment, understand this: what you have just received is not just for you. It is a living flame meant to reach others who are still lost in confusion, still waiting for their awakening, still searching for truth in the darkness. And right now, you have the power to extend this light beyond yourself. The Lord says, Whoever sows generously will also reap generously. And this is not a suggestion, it is a divine principle activated through obedience. I feel led to say this clearly. When you give into this mission, you are not donating, you are planting into souls, igniting transformation, and opening doors that heaven itself will respond to. Your seed becomes a river that carries this message into homes that desperately need it. As you release through Super Thanks or through the PayPal link in the description or the QR code on your screen, you are stepping into a prophetic act that multiplies back into your life in ways you cannot yet see. Heaven sees your obedience. Heaven honors your response. Act now.